Alright? So yet again, psycho boyfriend. Well, not really boyfriend, but psycho keeps trapping us in a room. Yet again. The different one now. Anyway. Hmm. Where am I? For a moment I was disorientated by my unfamiliar surroundings. But it wasn't long before I remembered where I was. Locked up at the top of Castle Hogstein. I'd fallen asleep trying to sort out everything I had learned, or at least that was what I assumed had happened. I guess the elevator is working now. As I started to wake up, some of what I've been thinking about began to come back. A crash 12 years ago had ultimately led to the game we've been playing, after it killed Makoto's entire family. The crash was orchestrated by Urabe's dad, which is why Makoto hates him so much. I can see how he feels like what he's doing is justice. Now that I knew everything though, there's no going back. I needed to talk to Makoto. I was still deep in thought when the elevator dinged its arrival and the door slid open to reveal Makoto with a tray balanced on his hand.
Yeah, ohayo.
Oh,
お腹減ってるでしょ。朝ごはん持ってきたから一緒に食べよう。
okay, at least we're being fed. He must have come from the restaurant because the tray was piled with slices of toast, omelets, fruit juice, and more. As I took the tray from him, I noticed a whiff of lemon. Why does he always smells like lemon? That smell.
ああ、これ気になる
Well, I mean, yes or no. Why would you say no, So yeah. Yeah, I'm a little curious.
俺に興味を持ってくれてるんだ。だったら嬉しいな。
Heart, okay.
これね、実は母さんの香水と同じやつなんだ。まだ小さかった妹がお気に入りでね。いつもこっそり部屋に撒いては母さんに見つかって、よく叱られてたっけな。これは俺にとって家族の香りなんだ。だからこれをつけてると落ち着くんだよね。
Which does make
家
sense,
族4
actually.
人で暮らしてた頃、思い出すのかな。
It tends to be that your memories are often associated with your five senses. So, for example, if you associate a smell with your family, then it does help. Anyway, what was your sister's name? I didn't have any particular reason to ask, but I felt like I had to say something.
茜って言ってね。兄の俺が言うのもなんだけど、すごくいい子だったよ。
Akane, eh? He suddenly looked up at me and I almost jumped.
もし生きてたら、今頃はきっと君みたいな。
That's a weird thing to say, because...
やっぱり全然違うから。体の弱い子だったから。
Was she sick?
大病ってわけじゃなかったんだけどね。よく風邪をひいたり、熱を出したりしてた。だからこそ、初めて遊園地に行けたあの日は本当に嬉しそうだったんだ。体の調子も良くて、一日中笑ってた。あの日のあの子の笑顔は、今でもはっきりと思い出せるよ。ごめん。締めっぽい話になっちゃったね。ご飯食べよっか。はい、ホーク。
Thanks. Stockholm Syndrome, by the way. This is just classic Stockholm Syndrome. He really loved them, didn't he? Like, we're being in prison. He's threatened to kill us many times already in his Hogstein suit and everything. And yet, obviously, he's just, acting all nice and everything, despite the fact that he's quite a horrible person, really. Even as sympathetic as he is, the fact that he's, obviously getting a bunch of innocents caught up in his own, punishment or whatever, and having all these elaborate games to kill a bunch of people, I mean, I don't know. After what had happened to him, I could hardly blame Makoto for how he felt. But this whole thing he's doing isn't gonna help anyone. I knew that I had to stop him, but how? I felt like anything I might say as a person with a healthy living family, which, by the way, is never mentioned in this game, we're her actual parents, I've never seen them. But assuming that she has a healthy living family, it would just come across as a pathetic attempt at consolation. Well, obviously, to understand, Saki will first have to kill her parents, and then maybe, The tension made it hard for me to enjoy my breakfast, and I got the feeling it was weighing on Makoto as he ate too. In the end, we only managed to eat about half the tray. What am I going to do now? It was already the 6th day, and I hadn't been able to get in touch with the others for 2 days. They were probably worried about me. I should just ask him. Makoto? The glass in his hand had toppled to the floor and shattered, juice quickly forming a pool in the remains, and Makoto himself was crouched down over it. What's wrong? His hand was pressed hard against his stomach. Was he? Sorry. Time to strip off his clothes again. Saki tends to do this. I began to unzip his overalls. I had to know. This isn't a joke. Show me your stomach. He knew it. There was a wet red stain on his undershirt. It was growing by the second. Okay, so he wasn't lying about that part. It was still manipulative, pretending to be the hero and everything, but he still actually did it, I guess, is the idea. It was the same place he'd been holding the other day in the storage room, the wound from the explosion. I feel like there's a word for this, pretending to be the villain and the hero. He's the source of the explosion in the first place, but then he also pretends to be the hero and everything. So I think there's a word for that, I don't know. I thought he'd been lying about getting hurt too, but I didn't get this treated immediately. He pushed my hand away and shook his head. No, Makoto, hey, wake up, Makoto! His chest was still moving, but his eyes were closed and his suddenly pale face was covered with sheen of sweat. Dang it, I can't do anything for him here. I had to take him somewhere to get him help, but where? Oh, the restaurant. There are always picnics there, they'd probably be willing to help me. If they did, well, I think I'll think of something. I hefted Makoto's limp body over my shoulder and started for the elevator. He turned out to be much heavier than I expected. I began to wonder if I could make it all the way to the restaurant. No, I'm not ready to give up yet. I put my other arm around his waist and held him tight. With a grunt, I pulled us both into the elevator. As it turns out, it's, not that hard to escape when he has an injury in his stomach. The air outside the castle was full of warm sunlight, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, in defiance of my rather dire circumstances. The restaurant wasn't too far. Makoto was getting heavier by the second, but I wasn't gonna let that stop me. Huh? I leaned closer. What?
これまでモニター越しに見てきた君はね、俺にとってすごく興味深かったんだ。ゲームに巻き込まれた参加者はみんなさ、現実をなんとか受け入れて自分なりに割り切りながら行動してたでしょ。でも、さきちゃん、君だけは違ったよね。仕方ないと割り切ることもしないでさ、おじさんや人質を救出することも、ここの爆破を阻止することも諦めなかった。仲間を残してゲームから離脱することも拒み、そして君を騙していた俺のことすら今こうして救おうとしてる。全部を諦めないなんて本当欲張りだ。
I wanted him to quiet down so he didn't make his wound worse, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him to stop.
どんな状況でも一つとして諦めない。底抜けに前向きなんだよね、君は。
Is that a compliment or is he mad?
だけどそんなまっすぐな君が俺にとってはすごく眩しかったんだ。
We're almost there. Just hang on a little longer. For the rest of the walk to the restaurant, Makoto was silent. I need your help. I slammed open the door of the restaurant, surprising the piglets inside. It didn't take them long to realize why I was there, though. As soon as they saw Makoto, they began to panic. He's wounded. Here, help me get him up on this table. The nearest piglets rushed over and took Makoto from me. As they maneuvered him into the table, I turned to one of the other piglets. Do you have a first aid kit and bandages? He nodded quickly and broke into a weird lopping run. I'm sorry, but I need to take your shirt off. This might sting a bit. I don't know why I read that. He's saying that, not me. Sorry. I worked slowly and carefully, trying not to touch his wound, but I only got about it halfway up when I froze. He's covered with scars. Yes. Cool anime scars. Everywhere. I mean, I'm sorry, like, it looks cool, you know, in anime. Like, people always say how ugly it is. And in real life, you know, again, it might look a little disfigured on your body, depending on how, you know, deep the scars are. But usually, in anime, it just looks good, you know? It's like, you know. His whole stomach was covered with them, and as soon as I worked the shirt the rest of the way off, they continued up into his chest. Only his right arm was untouched. I'm surprised they, you know, he was like a kid back then, right? I'm surprised the doctors patched him up so well. He should be thankful. Apparently his reward had been limited to his arm. He would have been so young when it happened. How could a kid who just lost his entire family get hurt this bad and live? But I already knew. Revenge. Revenge had kept him alive, and looking at his scars for the first time, I felt like I understood what that meant. So much revenge. Is there anything I can do to help him? Become the new Hogstein. You know, take over as the new Hogstein. You know, and do his job for him. No. And done. With the piglets' help, we got him bandaged up pretty well. That should do it. Thanks for all your help. They gave me a thumbs up, then returned to their various posts. Do they know that he's Hogstein? What was their relationship to him anyway? Why were they so obedient?
Oh, Saki-chan.
Oh yeah, you have like a weird cult? You know, that's another thing as well. He has like a weird pig cult. So I mean, that's like another thing about him that's kind of like, I don't know. You're awake. Are you feeling better? He sat up slowly, trying not to strain his stomach. We'd stopped the bleeding, but it had to still be painful. It looked like even breathing hurt him. That doesn't matter. I couldn't just leave you there. You're confusing me. Attractive and repellent. I've been thinking. Whatever your reason is, I don't think it's right for you to try and take someone's life. Especially if they don't have anything to do with that crash.
人質として捕まえてる人たちのこと？それなら心配ないよ。最初からあの男、君まろの父親以外はゲームが終わったら解放するつもりだった。もちろん、君のおじさんもね。
Okay.
安心して。
So at the very least, he wasn't going to kill all the hostages necessarily. I shook my head. I'm not just talking about the hostages. You're making a bunch of people suffer, except for Urabe and Shirabe, they don't have anything to do with this. You seem to think it's horrible that Urabe's father let innocents get caught up in his attack, but aren't you doing the same thing? Makoto just stared at me blankly. Because, yeah, I guess Saki doesn't know that actually there are other people related to the crash and everything, right? You know, I'm trying to think though, Wakasa is as much of a victim as he is, you know, but, you know, maybe he's in his own twisted mindset. Because Meoshi, for example, because Wakasa and Meoshi are definitely, even though they're involved, they're the most innocent, I feel like. But I feel like maybe in his mind, you know, Meoshi, for example, he ran away, right? So he was like, maybe, oh, Meoshi could have done something, but instead he ran away instead of helping me. Maybe some of my family could still live if Meoshi actually did something despite him being a kid, I guess. And Wakasa as well was saved by Mitorashi's mother, right? But maybe in his mind also like, oh, instead of Wakasa being saved, why didn't any of my family members get saved instead? It was like jealousy. So like, in his own mind, maybe even the most innocent people that got related to that accident, they're still at fault for some reason, somehow. Anyway.
彼ら6人の中に事故と無関係の人間なんていないんだよ。
Huh?
例えば、獅童スバルさん。彼は事故を捜査していた刑事の息子さ。彼の父親は俺のところにも何とか聞き込みに来たよ。いや、俺だけじゃなく、目押光太くんのところへも行ったんじゃないかな。
目押 why?
そう。彼はあの事故の唯一の目撃者だったからね。まあ残念ながら彼の証言が世に出ることはなかったけれど。次に若狭とわくん。彼は俺と同じあの事故の生き残り。バスに乗っていた乗客で助かったのは彼一人だけだった。そして御手嵐流星、いや龍二さんはあの事故で両親を亡くしてる。いわゆる被害者の遺族ってやつだね。
I was stunned. No, we learned about this in the other timelines, but Saki is stunned. He was right. They had all been involved. This was the connection that I felt before, even if I hadn't been able to identify it. It was no coincidence that he'd picked those particular people for his game. Makoto smiled at me.
これで分かったかい？参加者の中で事故と関係がないのは、さきちゃん、君だけだ。君以外の6人は必然的にこのテーマパークに集められたんだよ。
You skip this thing, try again.
君以外の6人は必然的にこのテーマパークに集められたんだよ。俺が計画したゲームのためにね。
Okay, that's the thing I skipped. Anyway, that seemed like, sometimes I don't want to even if I accidentally skip like a dialogue line, I don't want to go back and do every single one every time I make a mistake. But that seemed important, it seemed like that CG and everything. Anyway. Brought how? Urabe and Shirabe I understood, but what about the other four? Shido and Wakasa had come for work, Meoshi for the DLC, and Mitarashi for, well, the park itself. I had heard each of them say they'd come to the park for a reason. Is he saying he arranged all of that just to get them here? I thought Hogstein's choice to have the game here was cruel but ultimately random. I'd never imagined everything had been so carefully arranged. He is the mastermind. Makoto smiled again.
言ったでしょ。俺はあの事故からずっとこの時のためだけに生きてきたってさ。事故に関わる人間が集まった時、俺のゲームはようやく成立する。だから彼らを解放するわけにはいかないんだ。
As he spoke, he stood up and began to head toward the door. You shouldn't be walking around yet. You need to rest.
いや、戻るよ。俺にはやらなくちゃいけないことがある。止まってなんかやれないんだ。
Despite his determination, though, he was still clearly unsteady. I couldn't bear to watch him struggle like that, so I stood up myself and ran to follow him.
まだ俺についてくるの。後悔しても知らないよ。
And also, legally speaking, we're like an accomplice because we're helping him indirectly, so we're totally going to prison. Anyway, I said nothing, just pulled his arm across my shoulder and began to walk. Unless there's some kind of there's probably some kind of law out there that covers, medical treatment. How I know in war, for example, there's plenty of doctors who didn't care which side you were on. You would just get treatment either way. I think there were doctors like that in a lot of wars who do that. I don't know if there's any kind of fundamental war law, for example, that covers people like that. Anyway, everything Makoto had told me only opened up more questions. I understood how all the participants, except for me, were somehow connected to the bus crash 12 years ago. But what I didn't understand was why they were here. Although they were connected, they hadn't caused the crash, and several of them were victims in a way, just like Makoto. Why was he so determined to torture a bunch of people who had nothing to do with the death of his family? I turned to look at him. Are you okay?
薬がまだ効いてないのかな。
I resisted saying the word. I resisted saying the special move. That's why I told you not to get up.
そうだね。君の言うことはいつも正しい。俺だってさ、そんなことは分かってるんだ。だけど、もう理屈じゃないんだよ。
I got the feeling he was talking about the game, not about his wound. Here I am again. Are you okay? Not again.
平気。
Stop saying that, Saki.
薬も効いてきたみたいだし、こんなの大した怪我じゃないよ。でも、あのまま放っておいたらいずれは危なかったかも。ね、君は命の恩人だね。
His voice was light and cheerful, like he was joking with me. It was hard to believe he was the same person who'd been snarling with hate the other day. If this was who Makoto really was, then maybe, just maybe, I could get through to him. Or he could still be lying to you, Saki. He's been lying to you before. I don't know. I took a deep breath. You remember what you were telling me earlier?
どの話？君にはたくさんサービスしちゃったからな。どれかわからないよ。
About how all the participants were involved in the crash somehow, which is why you brought them here. Okay. You have two choices. You can say, I don't think it's right, or I understand where you're coming from. Well, you know, persuasion 101. Whenever you want to persuade anyone, I feel like, you should always start with understanding where they're coming from, and then adding your own opinion on how you would handle things. Usually. But I don't know if that's actually the correct thing to do, but I think I'll say this first. I understand where you're coming from. The words surprised me even as I said them, but they were the honest truth. He'd held a grudge for 12 years. It was hard to blame him for trying to take it out on the people involved.
そっか。君がそう言ってくれるとは思わなかったな。
He smiled sadly and pulled out a gun. What? No, just the wrong thing. Part of me my bewildered mind absolutely wondered where he'd been keeping it. Makoto?
ありがとう、サキちゃん。
Okay. Hello, Inda. I'm just going through Sweet Fields. A visual novel where we get shot.
僕が欲しいのはそんな言葉じゃないんだ。
Okay, bad end. Huh. So I wonder, yeah, if you chose the wrong choices before, maybe that's what happens actually. He just straight up shoots you? My god. This is what happens to a lot of the other choices I made if I chose the wrong thing. And you are BS in human skin. Oh yeah, well, what's your original name? You keep calling my chat and changing your name. I don't know who you are anymore if you keep changing your name. What was your original name? Yeah, I remember you gave me an original name before and I forgot. There was something. Change your name. Stick with one. In my opinion, you should just stick with one name. But I guess you can do whatever you want. But you know, in my opinion, it just confuses me if you keep changing your name. Alright, anyway. Let's try again. Here I am again. Alright. So I guess we shouldn't say that. You know, I feel like you kind of should say that, and then, you know, convince him otherwise. But I guess we just have to say it's not right. I still don't think it's right. I mean, yeah, they're connected to it, but it's not like any of them did anything bad to you, right? Some of them are even victims, just like you. I don't understand why you're doing this to them. My voice shook a little near the end, but Makoto listened intently, his face impassive. But now I know that he just shoots you. He just shoots you. It's like, of course. Of course you would think that, Saki. You're so cool, you know? But then the other option is like, he just shoots you. Like, oh, now I know the consequence of not getting, like, if you don't get attraction points with him, he just shoots you. This is a hardcore otome game. Please, just let them go. They're innocent, aren't they? His face and voice were suddenly cold. Not again. Why? Guilty of what? He stood up and with one hand holding his stomach, walked slowly to the console and pressed the button. A new image popped up. Okay, this is the CG we saw before. Shido, Wakasa, Meoshi, Shirabe, and Urabe. At least they're all safe. Did you let Urabe go?
解放したのは君の仲間たちさ。昨日のゲームは君まろの解放をかけて行われたんだ。彼らはそれをクリアして君まろを助けた。裏切り者に命をかけるなんて。
His tone was bitterly sarcastic. They're in what appeared to be a dressing room. I could see lots of not quite clothes, more like animal suits. Yes, this is the furry rhythm game, is what they were doing. They were all standing facing Meoshi. Were they having a discussion or something? He tapped on the console and the screen zoomed in on Shirabe's face. The image seemed kind of pixelated. Yeah, indirectly. He didn't, we learned that in Shirabe's realm, he didn't want to do that. It's more like his story got twisted and everything by his boss, but,
あの事故について記事を書いた。だけどその記事には世間を煽るような嘘が面白おかしく散りばめられていた。真実なんて一つもなかった。世間の興味を引くことだけを気にして、遺族の悲しみを平気で踏みにじったんだ。
Did he really do that? Something about his explanation didn't make sense. Would someone who'd spent 12 years searching for the truth really write something like that? But Makoto was already moving on, shifting the screen to focus on Shido. Okay, so that's how... Okay. Well, we didn't get that information before, but that's how Makoto was related to Shido's partner. That didn't sound right either. I never met anyone as dedicated to protecting others as Shido. How could someone like that leave his partner to die? Well, again, as we learned in Shido's route, he didn't want that to happen. Obviously.
次に、目押しコータ。事故の唯一の目撃者であり、重要な情報を持っていながら、警察への証言を拒み続けた臆病者だ。もし彼が証言をしていれば、事故ではなく事件として、世間でも警察でも大きく扱われていたかもしれない。そうすれば、あの男の罪ももっと早く暴けたかもしれない。
Okay, that's what Makoto blames Meoshi for. Okay, I always think that it's because Meoshi ran away when he could have done something, but of course he was a kid during the car crash. But it was more so about his testimony, I guess, what he saw. Like he saw the other car, the third car, I guess, the third vehicle that actually caused the crash in the first place. It was true that he'd been an eyewitness, but he'd been a kid back then. Wasn't it a little harsh to expect that kind of dedication to justice from a child? Besides, Makoto himself had said the truth had been covered up by the police. If that was true, why would Meoshi's testimony have changed anything?
若さとは以前アイドルが暴言を吐いたとちょっとした話題になったことは知ってる？よくあるでしょう。衝撃映像何連発みたいな番組。それに彼がゲストとして出演した時、偶然例の事故の映像が流れたんだ。その時彼は何て言ったと思う？ああ、つまんない。早く帰りたい。
Okay. Well, I think, yeah, that's funny. Okay, that's why Makoto really hates Wakasa. I guess because he thought that he would connect with him, but he didn't really did. I don't know. Well, probably what it is that, you know, what it really was Wakasa didn't remember the crash in the first place.
事故の当事者にもかかわらず、あの日のことを冒涜したようなあの態度、僕は絶対に許さない。
Oh, I do think maybe I heard something about that once. The internet had picked up on it, and the clip of him saying it had spread like wildfire. It went viral. I'd only heard about it because one of my friends was a huge Junior Boys fan, though it hadn't occurred to me that it could have been Wakasa. But again, he didn't remember the car crash in the first place. So.
Urabe 君まろうについては言うまでもないから、彼の罪は父親の邪悪さに気づきながら何でもそれを見逃してきたことだ。あの事故の後もあの男の悪行は続いていたはずだよ。誰も知らないところでね。
Well, of course, but you know, you're kind of punishing the sins of the father and the son, so.
ここにはいないけど、みたらし流星。彼は自分の名前とともに事故の痛みを捨てた卑怯者だ。事故以降は母方の名字であるみたらしを名乗り、ホストになったからリュウジではなくずっと流星という源氏名で通してる。
Oh, is that why? You know, Makoto's angry at him to change his name?
遺族はあの日を死んでしまった家族の無念を忘れてはいけないんだ。
I forget the reason why Mitarashi changed his name. I think it was because, you know, he just started living with his, you know, his grandmother and everything, right?
過去から逃げることは許されない。それなのに彼は過去を
I don't think there was like a big reason why he changed his name. It was just easier for him, you know? It wasn't because he was a coward or anything. He always remembered. Especially the reason, because he, you know, he... Like, it's funny, Makoto's like putting a lot of stake into the name, but what Mitarashi remembers is not the name, but rather his mother's final message. That's what he remembers, you know? So he's not a coward, but that's what Makoto's interpreting from his name change, I guess. The screen clicked off, and Makoto just stood there for a moment, his hand clenched in a tight fist. Okay, so all of that was actually pretty, you know, it was just one scene, but it's kind of insightful actually, because I played all the other routes. We learned why they're all connected and what they did exactly, and Makoto didn't know. You know, he doesn't know any of this. He just assumes everyone deserves to be punished from his own interpretation. He's never actually met any of these people and talked to them directly, except maybe Urabe, but even then, he still holds contempt for him. How much of all of that is true? Even if there was some truth, everything he'd said seemed to be heavily colored by his own point of view. As confirmation bias? For instance, yes, Wakasa had said some insensitive things, but he wasn't the kind of person to do that with the intent to hurt anyone. And he would have been so young when the crash happened, he might not even known he was involved when he saw the footage. When Urabe had confessed his guilt to us, his face had told me that he'd been suffering the knowledge for a long time, when he had to have known that something needed to be done about his father, but maybe he didn't know where to start. Condemning your own father isn't easy. Was it really right to judge him so harshly for that? The same went for Mitarashi. Even if he had changed his name, there was no way he'd been trying to escape. I doubted very much that he was completely indifferent to the pain of losing his parents either. I know they're not as bad as he thinks they are. I know them. It's only been like a couple days. There's something else I realized. Makoto, why did you decide to have this game?
今言った通りだよ。まだわからない。
You told me you can't forgive them, yeah, but if that's the case, why go through all this trouble? I had a feeling I already knew the answer.
それは
Is it because you weren't sure? I saw his throat twitch as if he was swallowing something unpleasant. You're not sure if they're really guilty enough to deserve the punishment you want to give them. But forgiving them feels like betraying your family and all the other people who died in the crash. That's why you made them do all this, so that they could determine their fate, even if they didn't know they were doing it.
違う。ただ始末するだけじゃ物足りなかった。あの事故の悲しみを侮辱した罪がどんなに重いか思い知らせてやりたかっただけだ。彼らには他人の勝手で無慈悲に命を奪われ人生を狂わされた被害者の苦しみを感じる必要がある。
Funny you say that, and then you also it's funny because, you know, Makoto is almost redeemed because, you know, he's doing this for revenge. He's confused about it, whether or not he actually wants to kill everyone. And he did say he'll let all the hostages go except for his father, which is fair. But he also shoots us. I just remember that one time he just shot us in the face. Unless it was a tranq gun or something. I don't know. I don't know if that was the implication, but he shot us with a tranquilizer gun or something, and then, you know, maybe let us live by just leaving us outside the park. But I think he just shot us normally. I think we just died. He just killed us. Yeah.
ゲームを始めたんだ。絶望に落とされて死ぬべきなんだ。
What? I have to restrain myself? Does he shoot me again? Perhaps I've just given up, and I don't think Makoto will be able to overcome the darkness in
ほ
him.
らね。結局無理なんだ。
Huh?
誰にも僕の気持ちなんてわからない。分かってもらえるはずがない。
He pulls something out of his coveralls.
結局
Again.
僕は
Not again, Makoto. Stop shooting me. Ow! And then I die. Keep shooting Saki. Game over. You suck. You die now.
諦めるわけにはいかない。
No. Nobody deserves to die, whatever the reason. Makoto knows what it's like to lose someone. How can he possibly justify thinking they should die in misery? He stumbled backwards, tripped and fell, and then he died. You're totally wrong. Nobody has the right to kill somebody else, whatever the reason. They'll tell that to the death penalty, you know, and also war. You ever thought about war, Saki? That's definitely a government-sanctioned killings. Anyway, that's political. He grabbed at his stomach while his face twisted with pain. I'm sorry, does it hurt?
平気。
Though to be fair, you know, obviously, death penalty is abolished in most countries. I still don't know. I think I looked it up, but then I forgot again. I just know that Japan, for the longest time, did have death penalty, right? But I don't know if it still has it. I don't remember. All I know, I'm just reminded of Phoenix Wright and how, like, in the Phoenix Wright universe, there was a death penalty, right? You know, that was the whole point of defending your clients in Phoenix Wright, is because if you lost, then they literally die. They get executed. I don't know if it's still a thing in modern Japan. I think it was around for a long time, right? Or something like that. Or at least, I don't know if it still exists. I don't know, I think it's still a thing. Or maybe it depends on prefecture. I don't know, anyway. I just don't know. He waved away the hand I offered, pulled himself shakily to his feet, and began to walk toward the elevator. Makoto! At the speed he was walking, it was easy to run around in front of him.
俺だってしたくなんか。
Huh? What did he just say? A tear slid down Makoto's cheek. What can I do? He looked up at me, and in his eyes I could see a desperate plea for help.
わからない。
He gently removed my hand from his sleeve and stepped onto the elevator.
エレベーターはこのまま動かしておく。仲間のところに戻りたいなら自由に出て行って構わないよ。君の好きにするといい。
Easy for him to say, but what do I want to do? I was all alone. Wait, is there something on the floor? I knelt down and picked it up. What is it? It's a pendant. Oh, it's the one we always saw before. Is this a locket? It was an old worn pendant with a chain cut off. The shock of hitting the ground seemed to have knocked the cover open a crack. It's probably from his neck. Fell off. Is this Makoto's? Maybe he dropped it earlier when he fell. I felt a bit guilty about opening it, but I took only the slightest touch. Inside was a picture of a family. Could this be his family? The father's face was kind, and the mother looked warm and gentle. The boy had to be Makoto, which made the girl his sister. They looked happy. There's something written on the back. It was an engraving. 2 letters. T.M. Tight Moon? No. They seemed to be initials, but obviously they were Makoto. T.M. This must have belonged to one of them. I remember that I often see Makoto stick his hand into his pocket. I hadn't thought much about it before, but now I realize this must be why. He didn't want to forget his family, or the rage and sorrow he had for the crash that had taken them away from him. I have to give this back to him. He needed to have it. I called the elevator. When I reached the main hall, Makoto was already nowhere to be seen. The front doors was open. He'd said I was free to leave. I could just walk out, and then get shot again. This is what happens when I leave. He's just gonna shoot me again, you know? I feel like that's what happens in every choice, where he gives you the option to obviously do the wrong thing. He just shoots you in the face. Like, let's see if we can leave. Well, there's nothing left for me to do here. I want to help him, but I never experienced anything close to the suffering Makoto had gone through. How could I possibly help? If I couldn't help him, then at least I could do was let him finish what he started. Bye-bye. Okay. The park was quiet. Someone out there were my friends. Thinking about them made my heart ache.
出て行くんだね。
Does he shoot me again? Makoto was waiting for me in the plaza. There was a sad smile on his face as he raised the gun. Not again!
そう。それが賢い選択だ。でも、さよなら。
Not again!
君なら俺を救ってくれる気がしてたのに。
If you're not my perfect waifu, then you just deserve to die. He really is just a psycho yandere. You know, if you don't live to his expectations, he just murders you. Oh my god! This is, I guess, it's a hardcore otome game. You choose the wrong decision, you die. You gotta make the husbando fall in love with you, or he kills you. You know, it's like, it's that hardcore, I guess. Anyway, so obviously I'll just stay. No, I can't leave. I knew what those tears had meant. Even if he couldn't admit it to himself, Makoto was struggling really hard. I was probably the only person who could see it. And I'm probably the only person who could save him. But what if I was sticking my nose where it didn't belong? People were in danger, and I couldn't live myself if I didn't at least try to help. I was going to stay. It was day 6 of Hogstein's week of games. The next day would be the last one. I didn't know how it would all end, but I knew I had a chance to make it a good ending. Good ending, eh? Well, don't make it a game over. Let me drink some water. Makoto. Could I save him? Could I help him find peace? As I pulled the door closed, I prayed that the answer was yes. Alright, stage 7 is the final stage. Day 7. I woke up in the main hall. This is it. This is the last day.
残ってくれたんだね。
He looked slightly surprised to see me when he came through the door, tray in each hand, but he quickly recovered and let out a short sigh.
結局、無関係の君を最終日まで付き合わせることになっちゃったね。
It sounded like an apology, but I wasn't sure. Now that I know the truth, I do have something to do with all of this.
そっか。ま、とりあえずはこの食事が無駄にならなくてよかった。食べるでしょ？まだ温かいよ。
Thanks. Makoto? I'd like to talk to you after breakfast if that's okay.
いや、楽しい話だといいんだけど。
He laughed and handed me one of the trays.
さて、それじゃあ食事も済んだことだし、君の話を聞こうかな。もう時間もあまりないしね。
I know I'm just repeating myself here, but I think you should stop the game. You keep saying this is punishment, but if what's pushing you to do all of this is anger and grief from what happened to your family, then it's just revenge. I don't say the R word, Saki. He always gets a little pissed off when you say revenge. So please stop this. It's hurting you too.
俺自身のために。俺が望んでるのは、あの男を裁くことだけだよ。その望みを遂げられるなら、それで死んでも構わないと考えてる。俺自身のためって言うなら、このまま続けるべきなんじゃないの。
I will, if that's what you really, truly want. You cried last night. Was that because some part of you thinks all of this is wrong? Please, just stop.
もうやめる。そんなのダメだ。僕はあの男を断罪するためだけに。
Here's another temper tantrum.
それに、たとえ俺自身がやめたいとしても、やめられないんだ。もうこれは僕一人だけの復讐じゃない。やめることは許されない。
He started to hunch over as he spoke, and his face and voice seemed to twist and change as he talked. Is he fighting with himself? Does he also have a split personality as well? Was the part of him that was totally controlled by hate and revenge fighting the part that wasn't? If that was what's going on, then what is that he wants now? Oh, you can do like explosive insight. Man, there's one thing I don't understand. Why did Makoto just take revenge on Urabe's father? He's the reason all this is happening. Or more specifically, why did he decide to run this game instead and bring all the people involved to the park? Everyone except me was connected to the crash in some way. I think the park kind of represents Urabe's father to Makoto. He gave me some plausible reasons, but I don't think they're the real ones. Whatever his reasons are, they don't justify killing anyone. I want to know what his real motivation is. Besides, I saw him cry last night. He's struggling with something. Was it what he said? He's angry and hurt, but he's sad too. That has to be it. Otherwise, why would he say that he couldn't stop even if he wanted to? Is this what he wants? If I could just figure out what he really wants. I mean, I'm not sure. Okay, here's my hypothesis. I don't know if it's correct or not, but I think the reason why he kept Urabe's father as a hostage specifically, and he's gonna let everyone else go, is the fact that he's going to indirectly kill everyone in that park with those games, and so he doesn't take responsibility for it. Instead, he puts that responsibility on Urabe's father, and then he gets in trouble for all the deaths that are indirectly caused by those games. Right? That's the plan. And so, the ultimate punishment is for Urabe's father to actually get punished for his crimes. You know, whether or not it was orchestrated by him, I guess, it doesn't matter. Whether it's the end result that matters to, you know, Makoto anyway. So I think that's the answer, but I'm not sure. Let's say park, real one, try, stop. I'm not sure exactly. I'm just gonna pick some other words. Like maybe park. This probably is the wrong thing. I'll choose it anyway. Nope. Inside diffuse. Are we gonna get shot again? We're gonna get shot again. No, I can't figure it out. Makoto? Yet again, you get shot. He keeps killing us. This is not very healthy relationship. He's murdering us every time. Every time we say something wrong. Let me skip that. Do it again. What is the answer? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe struggling? Struggling with something? Try. Stop, maybe. Maybe something like that. Okay. Stop. Alright? I still don't get it, but sure. So that's what happens sometimes. The explosive insights, I tend to just not get it sometimes, and I still... But that's it. He does want to stop. Alright, okay, that's what we said before, right? I don't know. I thought we already said that, but anyway. He does want to stop. I just have to help him realize it. There's more to it, though. All this time, I thought he started this game because he had doubts, but that might not be it at all. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't, so he wanted someone else to stop him. Perhaps somewhere deep down, that was what he was hoping. Okay, not twisted logic, but sure. Of course. You wanted people who understood what you've been through to stop you. That's why you did all this.
違う。彼らを呼んだのはそんな理由じゃない。僕はただ彼らにも罰を、事故で死んだみんなのためにも罰を与えなくちゃって。
I seem to have hit a nerve. Hopefully he doesn't shoot me again. But he was still totally focused on revenge, and it was keeping him from realizing the truth. Unless I could figure out a way to get rid of all of that hate, I didn't stand a chance of actually changing his mind. But how am I gonna do that? Wait, yes, that might work. I pulled out my phone, the power of phone. I sped through my contact list and hit Shido's number. Hello, Shido? Even though it was early in the morning, he picked up almost immediately. Hold on, Shido, I need a favor. He picked up the serious tone of my voice immediately and went quiet to let me talk. Could you get the other guys? There's something I need to talk to you about. He didn't even pause to consider my request. Really? I could hear him explaining what I just told him. There was a muffled outcry when he finished, but it quickly quieted down. Could you put it on speaker? I want everybody to hear me. I'm gonna ask you guys some questions. They might not be easy to answer, but I'd like you to try your best, okay? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Makoto twitch. If I had misjudged things, there would be no going back. There was a chance I totally screwed up and Makoto was right, and then he shoot me with his pistol again. He keeps shooting me every time. In multiple timelines, he just murders me. But I didn't think he was. After what I've been through with the men on the other side of that phone call, I trusted them completely. Apparently. I put my phone on speaker, took a deep breath, and began. Shido, did you leave your partner to die? Makoto raised his head to stare at my phone. Well, you see, I'm a time traveler? No. Or, well, more like a dimensional traveler. Multiverse traveler? Anyway. Please, just tell me the truth. There was a long pause. Interesting. I don't know if you mentioned that, but I guess that's why his personality is the way it is. I didn't really get that in his route, but I guess that's, interesting. Makoto shuddered. Though it's true that Shido's partner had died, but he turned that tragedy into new determination to keep others safe, and maybe make up for what he'd done. Urabe. We're just going down the list. Did you write an article about the bus crash 12 years ago that sensationalized the whole thing and mocked the families of the deceased?
記事は書いた。だが、遺族の気持ちを踏みにじるつもりなんてみじんもなかった。記事を書いたのだって、あの痛ましい事故を風化させたくなかったからだ。だが、俺の書いた記事は載らなかった。雑誌に載ったのは、当時の上司が世間の興味を煽るため、好き勝手に書き換えた記事だった。読むだけで気分が悪くなるようなな。だが元の記事を書いたのは紛れもなく俺だ。遺族を傷つけた責任は俺にある。言い訳をするつもりはないさ。
Miyoshi, did you refuse to testify as an eyewitness to the accident? When he finally spoke, his voice was thin and weak.
拒んでたわけじゃない。だけど大人に取り囲まれるのが怖くて一言も話せなかった。しばらくしてから一人の刑事に真実を伝えたけど、もう捜査は打ち切られてて、僕の証言が役に立つことはなかった。僕はもっと早く真実を話さなければいけなかったのに、そのことは今でも後悔してる。
Makoto looked stunned. Wakasa, did you say something bad about the crash on a TV show when they showed you footage of it?
僕は
I heard his voice almost crack.
冒涜かどうかはわからないけど、無神経なことを言ったのは本当だよ。その事故に自分が関わってたことも昨日みんなと話してる時に知った。小さかったから記憶にはなかったけど、だけど自分に関係があってもなくてもあんなことは言っちゃいけなかったと思う。
Are you there too, Mitarashi?
おう、
Did you abandon your name because you were running away from the pain of the crash?
バカ言うんじゃねえ。
Yeah, that's a total misunderstanding. Everyone else, you know, he just interprets as like the worst versions of them. Mitarashi, like, that's just made up. He didn't change his name because of that at all.
両親が死んだ時は確かに辛かった。だがな、俺は物知りな親父に憧れてたし、いつも笑顔でいる母さんが大好きだった。そんな二人を奪ったあの事故、辛いからって理由なんかで忘れたりするわけねえだろうが。名字がみたらしになったのは母方の祖母に引き取られたからだ。まあ、名前も仕事では源氏名で通してはいるけどよ。だからって自分の名前を岸谷隆二の名を捨てたつもりは1ミリもね。今も昔もだ。
最後は私でしょうか。
You know the drill, Urabe. His voice was quiet. Urabe,
いいんです、サキさん。どうぞ遠慮なく聞いてください。
Urabe, did you keep ignoring what your dad was doing even after you found out about it?
M2、おそらくあなたもこれを聞いているのでしょう。確かに私はこれまで父の悪事を見過ごし、戦うことから逃げてきました。その結果、あなたに手を貸した。そしてここにいる仲間たちの命を危険にさらしてしまった。今は全てのことをひどく悔やんでいます。父の罪を見て見ぬふりをしてきたことも、あなたに加担してしまったことも、私はもう逃げない。このゲームが終わったら自首し、父の罪も全て白日のもとにさらすつもりです。 M2、 だからどうかあなたも。
もうやめろ！
Alright, we had a nice talk. We just communicated, clear up some misunderstandings. This is exactly what you would do. This is exactly what you would do if you wanted to solve, a lot of problems that happen in a lot of, dramatic TV shows or whatever. A lot of plot lines. It always just stems from misunderstandings. They only just talk to each other, and maybe none of this would have happened. Anyway, he snatched the phone from my hand and slammed it shut. Oh, not my phone.
こんなことを僕に聞かせて一体何になるって言うんだ。今さらこんな。
I had a feeling he had already done it. Makoto had realized that the crimes he blamed my friends for didn't make them the monsters he thought. Makoto. He'd bury his head in his hands and started to shake as I put my hand on his shoulder. He didn't brush it off.
僕は
Please, just listen to me. You convince yourself that you're responsible for the legacy of everybody who died in that crash, but it's too much. Do you really think what you're doing right now is what they want?
そんなの僕には。
Here, I've been meaning to give this back to you. I gently placed the locket I found the day before into his hand. I found it upstairs. You probably dropped it when you fell down. Everyone in the picture in the locket was smiling. They were gentle smiles, the kind that looked like they could forgive anything.
父さん母さん茜
Makoto, do you think your family would have wanted you to get revenge for them?
僕の家族を
It's a classic line, by the way. I always hear that. Would you want, would your loved ones want you to go on in a cycle of vengeance? I don't know. They're dead, so you can't ask them. What is it you want, Makoto? Tell me what you want. He tried to turn away, but I grabbed his shoulders and forced him to meet my eyes. Makoto. Ow, don't just scream into my ears.
僕だって本当はこんなことしたくない。
He broke down into coughing sobs, and all of the hatred he'd shown before seemed to pour out of him with the tears. I put my arms around him and held him tight as he cried. It's okay, I know it hurts, but you can beat that.
無理だ。それができるくらいなら僕は今ここにはいない。
Maybe you can't on your own, but what if someone was there to help you?
誰かと一緒。
And then he pulls out his gun. No? Yeah, like me, for instance. When you need help, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for it. If people care about you, they're always going to be happy to lend a hand.
君は
I'm waiting for that gun
手を差し出して
to ruin all of this. Ruin all of his sentimentality. He just pulls out a gun and shoots us again. I nodded and tears began to stream down his face again.
考えたこともなかったよ。
He laid his hand down in my lap, just like he had in the storage room. His eyes were red, but he stopped crying.
誰かに助けてもらうなんてさ。あの日以来、一人じゃない自分なんて考えられなかった。親身になってくれる人がいても、友達が協力してくれる人がいても、自分は一人きりなんだと思ってた。僕はいつから間違ってしまったんだ。
He tightened his hand around the pendant.
ねえ、さっき僕はどうすればいいのかな。
I can tell you what you shouldn't
悲
do.
しみを乗り越えるために
Don't take out that gun in your pocket. That's easy. You stop this game. It was your misery and your desire for revenge that started all this, right? If you can let go of the game, then that's the first step to letting go of those feelings. Right? Right? He'd just been staring at me in silence for the last few seconds. I was starting to lose some of my confidence. The look on his face was both happy and exhausted. I'd never seen anything like it before.
今やっと分かったよ。やっぱり君の言うことは正しかった。僕は自分のしていることをこうして誰かに止めてほしかったのかもしれない。だから君に話を聞かせて試すようなことも言った。君に興味が出たのも会いに行ったのも。
Yeah, if the thing is, if Saki lost any of those testings, you know he gave you options to stay or leave or whatever multiple times. If you chose the wrong ones, though, he just shoots you. It's a very deadly test.
君ならきっとそんな気がしたから。
This is messed up.
まさか本当に止めてくれるとはね。僕の勘も捨てたもんじゃない。
He smiled and gently touched my cheek.
君ってさ、絶対ろくでもない男に引っかかるタイプだよね。
What's that supposed to mean?
君、今時珍しいくらいお人よしだから。それに純粋でまっすぐで、何より優しすぎる。気をつけた方がいいよ。
What the heck am I supposed to say to that? He laughed.
でもそんな君だったから、僕は真実を知ることができた。ありがとう。
No problem. Is something wrong? For just a moment I thought I saw a shadow flicker across his face, but then it was gone.
なんでもないよ。
He stood up.
11時半か。
That meant the game hadn't started. If he ended it now, then everyone would be safe.
ごめんね、さき。
Uh-oh. Not again! At least he didn't kill us immediately. I noticed he was holding the bottle Hogstein had used on me as I felt the spirit hit my face. Why? My legs wallowed and then gave out, but Makoto caught me before I could fall.
ごめん。でももう一つだけ僕は確かめなくちゃいけない。
My eyes fluttered open. How long had I been out? I checked my phone. It was almost 7 p.m., which meant the game was almost over. Where's Makoto? Had he stopped the game? I was still wondering how I might find out when the elevator doors behind the throne opened and Makoto stepped out. Makoto! I ran up to him. What happened? Did you...
ゲームは中止したよ。
Okay.
参加者も人質たちももう解放してきた。今頃はみんな黒子の案内でランドの外に出てるはずだ。
Okay, yeah, it should be good, right? Great, that's awesome. He stopped the game on his own. Maybe now he can finally be free of his past. But there was something wrong. His face was blank, and when I looked up into his eyes, they were cold. Did something happen?
ゲームは中止した。でももうダメなんだ。
Too late for what?
君を眠らせた後、人質の中にいたあの男、君まろの父親と直接話をしに行った。
Well?
僕が事故のことを口にすると、みるみるうちに顔色が変わったよ。僕がその生き残りと知るとなおさらね。僕はあんたに復讐をするために今回のことを仕組んだんだと正直に言った。死んだ家族と同じ苦しみをあんたにも与えようと思ったと。僕はあの男も解放してやるつもりだった。そのつもりで話をしに行った。だけどその前にどうしても聞きたかったんだ。
Hear him say what?
たった一言でよかったんだよ。あの男がせめて一言でも亡くなった人たちに向けた謝罪の言葉を口にしてくれれば。
Well, as it turns out, though, Urabe's father is most likely pure evil. So, he's most likely we haven't even seen him as a character, so he's probably like a one-dimensional supervillain, and therefore, I don't think things turn out so well.
自分が仕向けた事故で大勢の人が亡くなったことをたった少しでも悔やんでいてくれた。それで許せたのに。
Makoto stopped and swallowed hard.
あの男は命乞いをするだけだった。それどころか事故なんて知らないとまで言ったんだ。この後に及んで白を切るあの男に僕はもう絶望以外の何かを見出せなかった。だから決着をつける決意をしてしまった。たとえゲームをやめてもあの男だけは許せない。
What do you mean by business to settle?
ごめんね。せっかく君は手を差し伸べてくれたのに。
He looked down.
このタワーの頂上にあの男を閉じ込めた。頂上には爆弾が仕掛けてある。午後7時。ゲーム終了の時間と同時に爆発する。
Yeah, how did you learn about making bombs, by the way, Makoto? Are you just just explosives expert? You know? I guess he just learned how to make bombs. That's just his thing. He's really good at making bombs. No.
もうあと数分もない。君は早く逃げて。
Wait, what about you?
僕はあの男と一緒にここで死ぬ。君早く逃げて。少しでも遠く。このタワーから離れるんだ。
As he spoke, I felt anger boiling up in my stomach. I thought he was gonna let me help him. He still just bottles everything up. And now he wants me to leave him alone to die? Get mad. I'm not sure what to say, but I'll get mad anyway. You've got to be kidding me. I grab onto the front of his shirt. You really think I'm just gonna run off and let you die?
ごめん。でも。
But nothing. You know what it's like to lose someone. How could you possibly ask me to do that?
さっき頭では分かってたんだ。でもどうしても抑えられなかった。ごめん。君まで巻き込んで。
I shook my head. SMH. My phone said there were a few minutes until 7 p.m. We still have time to stop it.
君はかなわないな。
He gave me a crooked smile and nodded. We have to disarm the bomb. Maka and I rushed into the elevator and headed to the top floor. Oh no. In the middle of the floor was a man with his arms tied up tight. He was shaking. That's Urabe's father. He caused the crash. He was a horrible person in every way, but I couldn't just leave him to die. Where's the bomb? As I turned toward him, I saw Makoto pressing the buttons for the elevator.
探しても無駄だよ。残りの短い間で爆弾を解除するのはもう無理だ。
And we have to get out of here.
それはできないよ。
His eyes were sad. Behind him, I could see the elevator leave on its way down to the first floor. Why did you send the elevator down? Now we'll have enough time to get...
ごめん。驚かないで聞いてくれるなんて無理だと思うけど、君にも僕と一緒に死んでほしいんだ。
Well... What?
決着をつける決意をした。そう言ったよね。やっぱりその気持ちは変えられないんだ。
That's a big favor,
どうしても。
Makoto. He also kills... You kill Saki like a million times already, and a lot of game overs. So at this point, I'm not surprised.
この男を始末すれば僕の目的は果たせる。それが叶いさえすれば人生に悔いはない。そう。ないはずだったんだ。
Oh, you'll be dead. You know, you won't have any regrets, because you'll be dead.
だけど、最後の最後で僕には贅沢な欲が出てしまった。一緒に乗り越えようと言ってくれた君に出会ってしまったから。君に出会って、君と一緒にいて、 こうしていざ終わるとなった時、僕は一人分かってる。僕はもう許されない。死んだ家族にもきっと君にも。
His voice sounded oddly detached, like he was talking about someone else. I heard the elevator ding as I reached the first floor. Even if I ran over and hit the button immediately, it wouldn't get back in time. But for some reason, I didn't feel scared. Just kind of calm. I do forgive you. Even if nobody else in the world will, I'll stay with you forever. Well, at least in the afterlife anyway. I pulled his shaking body close and he hugged me back.
ありがとう。
And thus, we are obliterated. Our corpse just flies in the air. As 3 bodies are just destroyed. Alright, so that's a bad ending. In a way, it's... You still end up with him, I guess. But it's a tragic ending. Well, there you go. You always keep dying. I don't know. He's very dangerous. He's a very dangerous husbando to romance. Because any wrong move and then he just kills you. Either directly or indirectly. Usually directly. Anyway. Let's do that again. Let's go back to the chapter select. And let's do this properly now. Because obviously that was a bad ending. I wanted to get the bad ending first. But now that we got it, let's do the good ending. Definitely a tragic one. Well, it's funny because all the other bad endings of a lot of the other routes often are just like, oh, I can't be with you. You know, it's like, but this one, we just explode and die. So, I mean, pretty hardcore. This is the hardcore route. Extreme romance. Alright. So, let's do this again. This time, however, we have full affection points. So maybe we're not gonna blow up. Let's see. On the floor was a man with his arms tied up tight, Urabe's father and the focus of all of Makoto's revenge. There's no way I could sympathize with a monster like that, but I couldn't just leave him to die either. Besides, if we didn't save him, Makoto couldn't be saved either. Where's the bomb?
待って、サキ。残りの時間で爆弾を解除するのは無理だ。このままこの男を連れて逃げよう。この高い塔なら下に降りれば爆風から助かるかもしれない。
I nodded. We had to hurry. As we moved toward the man on the floor, he started to wriggle away from us. Hold still.
ちょっとどいて。
Okay.
彼女に感謝しろ。
With a grunt, Makoto drove his fist into the man's stomach, pushing out a coughing
言っ
wheeze.
とくけど、これで済ます気はないよ。ここを出たら法律でしっかり。
You're going to prison too, Makoto? Assuming you're gonna face your crimes? Because you caused a lot of damages and also endangered many lives, so... The man fainted, although whether it was from fear or from getting punched, I couldn't tell. Makoto hefted it onto his shoulder.
行こう。
The elevator trip down felt excruciatingly long as the clock ticked closer and closer to 7 p.m. There's only a minute left. Hurry, hurry, hurry! The moment we reached the hall, I heard a distant explosion, and the elevator doors creaked open.
急げ。走るんだ。
He didn't need to tell me twice. We took off, Urabe's unconscious father bouncing on Makoto's shoulder. The ceiling was beginning to crack and fall around us. We just reached the center of the hall when... Huh? I looked up, and as I did, the huge chandelier slammed down on the floor around us. Makoto! He only just barely escaped getting hit, with only one of the bars of the chandelier only inches away from his knee. Urabe's father had escaped unscathed too, and he was lying limp on the floor next to me.
止まるな。逃げろ。
The whole thing's coming down. The ceiling was collapsing faster now, making a wall of debris between me and Makoto. But... the roar was becoming deafening.
サキ、行け。
I grabbed hold of the man on the floor and dragged him off toward the door as fast as I could go. I don't know how long I stood there, watching the castle shake and throw off clouds of dust. Despite the power of the explosion, the outside of the tower seemed mostly undamaged. Urabe's father had already disappeared. He must have run off with his arms still tied up while I wasn't watching. Okay. That's silly. Oh, Makoto. I could still hear the rumbling of the tower collapsing from within. Debris from the ceiling had completely blocked up the entrance. Makoto. I would never see him again. What? That was when I felt a tap on my shoulder. Oh, okay, we spoke too early. Or I mean, no, yeah, it is. Okay, it is Makoto. I turned around to see Makoto. He looked exhausted, and his clothes were dirty and torn, but he was alive.
うっかり忘れてたけど、タワーに裏口を作ってあったんだよね。秘密の裏アトラクションにつながる地下通路。
Made use of that hidden passage. He grinned sheepishly and rubbed at the back of his head.
助かっちゃった。
A little more concern for my own feelings would have been nice, but I was so happy to see him that I didn't care. Before I even realized it, I had thrown my arms around Makoto. I was holding him as tightly as I could. I'm so happy you're okay.
君も無事、怪我はない。
All I could do was nod. I felt his arms wrap around me too.
僕はさ、自分のしてることを君に止めてもらいたかった。救ってもらいたいと心の奥底で思ってた。でも、それだけじゃなかったんだ。僕はいつの間にかまっすぐで一生懸命な君に惹かれていた。眩しい君から目を離せなくなってたんだ。こんなことを言う資格ないと思うけど、僕は君が好きだよ。
Yes, of course, this is the Tomei game, so obviously they just have to get together. I don't know, it's the power of love. Just fixes all of his criminal intent, you know, all the crimes he's committed and everything. Don't worry about it. They'll fix everything. Makoto.
最後にもう一つだけ、君にずるいことをしてもいいかな。
And then he pulls out the gun. No. Huh? Okay, they probably smooch, right? If I had to guess, they smooch. Smooch? Yeah, smooch. Yet again, the lips don't touch. Suddenly, his lips brushed against mine, so softly I barely even felt them. My eyes opened so wide I thought they might just fall out. Makoto just smiled.
ごめんね。でも、選別と思って許してくれる。もうお別れだから。
Goodbye. I could hear a police siren in the distance. Shido had probably caught it in after they got out of the park. Once they reached us, there was no doubt that Makoto would be going away for a long time. Time to go to prison. Time to go in the slammer. They're not gonna go easy on you.
でもきちんと罰は受けるよ。もう逃げるのはやめたから。
I'll wait for you. Yet again.
本気？
What do you call that? Like a prison girlfriend or something? The same thing with Urabe. Yes. He opened his mouth, stared at me, then shut it and embraced me again.
気をつけろって言ったのにな。ほんと。ろくでもないのに引っかかっちゃって。
No, I don't.
君のところに戻ってくるよ。たとえ何年かかっても。
Well, it's gonna take 50 years. Good. Even when we're apart, we'll still be together. Don't ever forget that.
忘れないよ。僕はもう一人じゃない。
He smiled again and squared his shoulders. That smile reminded me of the picture in the locket. I finally got to see the boy in that picture with his happy smile.
ありがとう、サキ。
As the police sirens grew louder, we leaned in and kissed one more time. Choo. Yes, yeah, that's it. There's probably an epilogue? Or maybe not. Oh, actually, that's it. Okay. I was thinking there was more to that. Usually, you know, in every route, we always end up in the hospital and then you meet one more time or something. But I guess that's it. Alright, there you go. That's the final ending of Sweet Fuse at Your Side, a mystery otome game about playing deadly games, but also romancing a bunch of B-shonens, I guess. Alright. I mean, it's all, I like it. I like it. I feel like the romance definitely. I mean, obviously it's marketed as like a dating sim otome game, so I guess I can't complain it. complain about it too much. But, you know, to be honest, for me anyway, I was more interested in the mystery than I was of the actual romance, is the thing, you know? It's like, yeah, it's romance, it's very, like, not, I don't know, it's not all that, I don't know how to say it, like, the romance is not all that amazing, I guess, I want to say, you know? The characters are interesting, I like how they develop and everything, but, sometimes I feel like it's a bit forced, right? Like, I feel like because this game was built from the bottom, from the ground up to be an otome game, and then added the mystery as kind of like a side course, right? But I kind of wish it was the other way around, you know? Instead of just being at its core a dating sim, I wish it was actually more natural in its story and focused more on the whole part of how all these people are related to the accident and everything, and how it all comes together. I wish it was more focused on that. You know, just like a lot of other visual novels that have this like drama and mystery surrounding it. Ones like, you know, Danganronpa, or like, you know, similar game I played recently like I, the Somnium Files, and I don't know what else, Zero Escape series, stuff like that, where there's like a looming threat on these survivors and these characters that have been going on, but the real mystery is figuring out like why this is happening to them and everything, right? I feel like if it focused more on that, it was like reversed, I feel like this game could have been way more popular, actually, you know? I feel like this is a pretty niche thing already. Like, visual novels are already pretty niche, but like, otome games are just narrowing the demographic even further. I don't know, but maybe if you were the targeted demographic, you would have enjoyed this game more than I have. But definitely, I was more interested in figuring out everything. Definitely it dragged on a little because I was trying to find, you know, see all the routes and everything, and that's why it felt like such a slog, because sometimes I wasn't really all that interested in, you know, Saki getting together with a husband or whatever. It's not too interesting for me. The characters definitely did grow on me, but again, I wish I could just friend zone all of them, you know? It's like, I don't need to be in a relation with all of them. I just want to learn more about them, you know, and their motivations, their goals. That is interesting. I like how they develop, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want to smooch all of them, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. That's just me, though. Anyway, definitely the last route, though, is definitely interesting. I do like how you learn more about the motivations of the villain. He is crazy, though. Definitely, like, he's a psychopath. He always kills Saki a million times. Like, so many times, actually. In the game overs, you know, he shows the wrong option, he just shoots you. Oh my god. I don't know. Anyway. I guess that's it. I don't know what else to... Let's see. I think that's all the routes. Is there anything else to unlock? I mean, obviously the CGs, right? Maybe you get something, actually, when you unlock all the CGs. Yeah, you probably do get something. Because I remember seeing something else about this game. But, you know, maybe I can find it real quick, actually. Just because. Let's see if we can find it. Because I'm not gonna be able to do it myself, because, you know, it's too tedious. But what I could do instead is cheat and simply do something like this. I simply go to the internet, and I go here, I think. Save that. So there you go. This little like final image. I don't know. I actually don't know if this is the case, but I believe you get this final CG of everyone if you get all the other CGs in the game itself. Obviously, I don't have the patience to do that, but you know, it's just a nice little final CG of the game, just for like a little nice conclusion to it. So there you go. Again, I feel like it's a bit of wasted potential though, because definitely, if instead of focusing on the dating sim aspects, instead of focusing on mystery, it could have been way more popular, I feel like, or at least way more in my personal taste anyway. Because ironically, you know, I feel like a lot of the games I'm thinking of that are kind of like visual novels with some gameplay elements and everything. Like there is like shipping, you know, of the characters and between the characters, but often it's the fandom that does it, you know, not necessarily within the universe. I feel like it's more interesting when you do that. Anyway. But yeah. I don't know. What else is there to say? Yeah, overall, it's an interesting, like, I feel like underrated game. I feel like this game didn't get a lot of attention. So, you know, I guess I'm glad to have played it though. At the very least, is the thing. It's an interesting game as I played it. I don't know. What was there to say? I don't know what it is. Probably something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten at this point. I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but yeah, it's a romance otome game, but I wanted more about the Danganronpa stuff. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention the gameplay. Oh yeah, the gameplay stuff. That's what I wanted to say. I also wanted to add that the gameplay was you know, not all that in depth, to be honest. Is the thing. That was probably my main complaint, or at least my main criticism of the game, is that it's alright, it's serviceable, but it wasn't really as interesting as, you know, other games that have gameplay elements in their visual novels, you know? And I really like those type of visual novels that do that. You know, similar to the games I played recently, like Eye of the Somnium Files, Phoenix Wright, Danganronpa, stuff like that. That make you feel more immersed in the character and more immersed in the story, more invested anyway. That's what I like about those type of games. This one, however, didn't really do much with it, you know, very little. Sometimes if I've had trouble with it, I still feel like, you know, it's just not challenging enough. It doesn't really get you in the mind of the character as much, I feel like. Though I do appreciate it. I do appreciate that they put it in there anyway. So at least there's that. You know, I would have rather they have that rather than not at all, because otherwise it'll just be a straight up visual novel, which, you know, some people might consider better, but, you know, I personally prefer when you take breaks from the story and actually, you know, do those gameplay elements and everything. So there you go. I guess that's all I say about the game. Anyway, there you go. That was it for Sweet Views at your side. I guess, let's see, if you're on YouTube, if you didn't know, I also stream these games live on Twitch, so check me out over there if you're interested, and also check out my other playthroughs on my YouTube channel if you want. There you go. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time, see you then.